572-0383 and 572-0215. Rev-Up St. Lucia, the alpha of radio.
Join the United Workers' Party this and every Thursday on Rev-Up St. Lucia 97.1 FM for an educational and informative program, Meet the Opposition. Participate in exciting discussions from 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Be in the know every Thursday on Rev-Up St. Lucia 97.1 from 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m.
It's now time for Meet the Opposition, and today hosted by Nancy Charles. Ms. Charles, welcome back. It's great to see you again.
Good morning, Andre. Good morning, St. Lucia. Good morning to your listeners. And let me say good morning to all the persons over the last couple of months that have been out.
Imagine that.
Who sent me messages. They were calling me. Are you okay? Haven't seen you in a while, etc., etc. Good morning. I'm back, and it feels so good to be back in St. Lucia as well, Andre, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've always said that no matter where I travel and no matter where I go, St. Lucia will always be home to me. I can't imagine living outside of St. Lucia permanently.
Mm-hmm.
So some people migrate to the US or to Canada or whatever. I'm not too sure I can do this at all. I miss my home. I miss my family. I miss my farm. I miss my friends. I just miss the air that I breathe in St. Lucia.
So why leave? Why leave?
There's a song that says it's all about the money. We have to work and we have to feed our families and we have bills to take care of. You know, if only we could have just gone and live in Zion, you know, up in the hills.
Yes. Okay, we got it.
Yes, so, Andre, let me say thank you very much as well. I do want to say that I'm starting off very early, Andre, to say that I am not here for long. So I'm here for a short period of time. And chances are that I will be leaving very soon. So I'm saying this so that you can remember St. Lucia, because I'll get to that a little bit later. And I want to say thank you so much to Spider. I've told him that before, but I do want to say that Spider has been exceptional in the last couple of weeks. And Spider, again, I'm reminding you, I think you missed your calling. You really, really, really should have been a talk show host. You know, I see Spider in his element, both on Meet the Opposition and also on the show that he hosts on a Monday. So I'm saying that Spider has just wowed me in particular. A lot of persons have called me and told me that as well, but he has just wowed me. So Spider, you're doing an exceptional job. So keep it up, and the United Workers' Party and myself, we very, very, very much appreciate you.
Yeah, and we butt heads sometimes.
I watch it, you know, most of the time. I would look at it. Sometimes I could not stay for the entire program, or sometimes I would look back afterwards, you know. But I see you and him have developed a rapport.
Yes, that's right. But it's all good.
Yes.
All good. He's mature in his thinking.
For sure. As usual, we do things a little differently. Spider and I, we do differently, but I always want to start my program with a word of encouragement, and to ensure that, you know, we set the tone for the show. So this morning, I really want to encourage us on a scripture that came to mind last evening, even while I was preparing the show. And it was the scripture that says that, you know, he will keep thee in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on him. And really and truly what the Bible is saying is that God is going to keep us in peace if we keep our mind on him. And in this life, Andre, we think that peace is an outward thing when it comes to, because you hear people say, let's have peace, because there's so much fighting, so much killing, so much shooting, stabbing, quarreling, you know, and so forth. And for us, we think that peace is really an outward thing. But peace is really something very inward, because peace starts from within. It starts from inside of you. It starts from what you consume, meaning what you listen to, what you allow to permeate through your ears and allow to remain in your mind, in your brain, what you take in, what you listen to. All these things are the contributing factors to whether you're going to be a peaceful person or whether you're going to be a warring person. And so my encouragement to St. Lucia today is that you need to be a bit more mindful as to what is it that you allow inside, and I'm talking about your mind, your brain, what you listen to, what you watch. What are some of the things that you consume in that type of way that would either allow for you to be at peace or allow for you to be at war? And so the Bible tells us that if our mind is stayed on God, if our mind is stayed on Him, on His Word, if our mind is on the things that are positive, Andrew, if our mind is on the things that is going to uplift and is going to build, if our mind is, is on those type of things, even when somebody comes warring at you and trying to create what we call in St. Lucian Palang, row with you. Because you have that inner peace, you learn to either walk away, you learn to deal with it peacefully. So if somebody go high, instead of you going high, you stay low and you ensure that you're able to speak to them in a different tone so that it doesn't escalate, etc. And all these things come from within. Mm-hmm. So my encouragement to you, St. Lucia, let us try to be a peaceful nation, a peaceful people, but it starts with us and it starts with what we allow to go into that mindset of ours. And the best thing I can tell you is, whether you believe it or not, the Word of God is one of the things, the best things that we can consume and allow for us to be at peace. So that is my encouragement. Now, Andre, I have a little power for you.
Sure.
Because I was listening to your program. I came in last week, and one of your callers called and said, Andre, I have a bone to pick with you. When you used to end your program, you used to say, what was it? A blessed...
a godly weekend.
A godly weekend.
Yes.
And you were looking for all kind of stories as to why you're not telling people to have a godly weekend, because you yourself was probably not having a godly weekend. So, Andre, I heard that part, right?
Imagine that. That's what you picked up?
Yeah. I listen. I was not able to listen to the entire show. I was running around. But I normally, St. Lucia, when I get the opportunity, I do listen to 97.1 FM. I listen to the other stations as well, but I try to make it a habit to listen to 97.1 FM. And I heard the gentleman chastising you and telling you, Andre, you have to go back. Now, you tried it. A few callers after you said have a godly weekend, but that's not enough, okay? So, caller, I'm on your side.
Well, as I said to him, once upon a time, that's exactly the weekend I used to have.
Right.
But these days, I'm in old school country and western. So that's probably godly.
So in your mind, that's not a godly weekend at all?
No. Definitely not. You understand?
Well, I don't know.
I can't be a hypocrite.
Yes, I understand. So maybe what you need to do now is to look at other ways and means of telling people to have a godly weekend so that you can have a godly weekend.
Well, let me repeat what you said earlier. It's about the money.
Oh my God. Anyways, St. Lucia, I'm happy to be back, Andre. Mm-hmm. And especially today, I was looking through, because I normally prepare my program, and I was looking through, and I realized that I was last here on the 6th of March. I think I was there sometime in January. I left in February. I came back. I was out for the entire month for February. I came back, and I was here in March. I did one show in March, and then I left again. Mm-hmm. And before I left St. Lucia, and that is in keeping with what I just encouraged you about earlier, I distinctly remember saying, and Andre, you're very much aware of that I was going to be out for a while. Did
Yes.
I not say that, Andre?
You did say it.
I said to my listeners, I'm going to be out for a while. I'll be traveling for work purposes and so forth, But Andre, the same thing, we like to consume so much negativity. We like row and drama and propaganda. Andre, I got a call while I was away. In fact, I got calls and messages. Hey, Nancy, what happened to you? What's going with you on UWP? And I'm like, what do you mean? So somebody screenshot a message that was posted on social media by none other than a lady named Soraya Alexander. Now you realize I say a lady because everybody on this program, I keep saying my friend, right, Andre? And people say, Nancy, can you please, toutes ces gens les bas, ces gens. Soraya is not my friend. Ça va jamais. And I'm telling you, it's because for as long as she's had her show and whatever, even at one time she pretended to be UWP. I knew she was never UWP. So don't mind that. And Soraya, you know and I know that you know that I know that you know. So don't try and take me on about that. You've never been UWP. I know when you started, you wanted to become, and when you came along, etc. We had those long conversations, and I still have some of the message. So pack it in. But Soraya is not my friend because I don't like the type, I've never liked the type of messaging she's had. She's had her show for a few years. A few members of UWP has been on her show. I've never been on her show. A couple of years ago, and then she turned around and whatever. I just don't like it. It's too negative for me, and that's one of the reasons I don't listen to Richard Frederick as well. It's just too negative for me. I try as much as possible to input, and I'm trying not to be a hypocrite, to input into this mindset things that are a little bit more conducive to discussion and so forth, and things that are more positive, things that I can learn from, things that I can listen to, and I can say, something is wrong about that, and I'm going to get to that as well. But she's not my friend. And so she posted this message on social media that, I am in boards with UWP, and I'm no longer part of the party, and I want the party to lose. Drama, and that's why you haven't seen me or heard me in a while, etc. And Andre, you know how people are so gullible. Jean UWP, Selba mette désappointé. Toutes ces gens UWP a qui te ka vwe message moi, kakouye moi. I mean, how could you believe such nonsense? How could you believe such crap coming out of the mouth of somebody like Soraya? And y'all were panicking and calling me. What happened? What's going on? You know, all the things that goes with those type of things. Please, I am begging y'all. One of the reasons that a lot of UWP supporters did not vote in the last election is because of that same thing, Andre. They kept on listening to people like Richard Frederick and all these other shows that the Labour Party had, the Yardis and all of them, that spoke a lot of lies, propaganda, negative things against the party, and they eventually, because if you start taking some of these things, Andre, after you listen to it for a while and you hear it over and over again, what happens? You start to believe it. That is basic psychology. And so they were listening to Richard, listening to Yardi, listening to all these lies about UWP, about Alan, about Guy, about Nancy, about all ministers, and a lot of them decided to stay home and not go and vote because they thought what these people were saying were true. 4 years later, I almost all realized how you record their pathway. Stop listening to those people. Stop inputting that type of garbage so that you'll panic and you'll start believing nonsense that can never be true. Even Labour Party people, Andre, when I arrive on Tuesday. The Wednesday, there was a particular funeral of a family friend of ours. And a few Labour Party people came up to me and they were like, my girl, because I have a lot of Labour Party friends in Lucia. What happened to you and the party? I heard they say this, that. I'm like, so you happy, you rejoicing? You think that is so true? Let me tell you something. I'm back and I'm coming for y'all. That's what I said to them. I'm back and I'm coming for y'all. There's something called St. Lucia Espoir Malpapai. You know, you plant a pawpaw tree, and those of us who have trees around the house, ou ka plant un pied papaye la ka commencer lever belle. Et pied papaye la ka commencer faire qualité fleur. Il ka venir en qualité branche longe sec fleur d'un. Et den ou ka couper, you ka quoi OK, il fait un papaye ba ou ka couper, you ka couper ça espoir mal papaye because pied papaye ça son mal papaye. Il pas que jamais faire un papaye ba. Bon, yo di la vie ou pas ni pour dire jamais. And in most instances, I don't say never. But let me tell you all something. Moko we kisa. Kika ife mwen kite UWP. Ek vote ebe sipote Labour Party an set lisi. Moko we. Piteti pe ka ifete. Me moko we. So let me tell you all something. When you all hear those type of rumors and those type of things, you all self need to go and say, that can never happen. Can't happen. And I am disappointed because y'all put me in the category of somebody like Stevenson King, a snake who went and turned his back and betrayed the United Workers' Party in the worst possible way. Y'all put me in that same category. I am disappointed, my Flambeau people. Disappointed that y'all would believe something like that. I can never be a snake. Never. See Alan from Baiki Pabo, and I have been on this show. Andre can tell you, I have said there are certain things either Alan, Guy, or members of my party have said or done that I have said. I don't think, in my opinion, it was right. And that's me. That's who I am. But I am still a supporter of my party. I am a big woman that can stand up and say to my party, you were wrong. That was not right. And still support my party. I don't have to betray my party for me to say certain things about my party. So I am saying to you all, stop listening to those negative things. Stop listening to those lies and propagandas. Nancy Charles is United Workers' Party, has always been, most likely will always be. Something really drastic has to happen, Andre, in the United Workers' Party. Some really drastic changes. Because I've always said, first and foremost, I'm a member and a supporter of the United Workers' Party because of the freedom and the flexibility that I have to be me and to be myself. You understand? I can speak out with in my party at any given, and even some of my friends who are within the party know that as well, because they were like, what happened? You can't speak again. Why did people say that? I'm like, not gonna happen. And I've always said as well, I have been in UWP as long as I can remember. I live in UWP for people that want to come and mash up the party and say, me, I live in it for them and let them mash up my party. I'm staying here to fight the fight and fight the battle for my party.
Now, I say this ashamedly. I don't know who Soraya is.
You don't need to. You don't want to know.
Does she have a talk show or something? Or?
She has an online social media, Facebook, I don't know if it's on Instagram show that she does. And it's just full of a lot of name calling, swearing words, all kinds of nastiness you can think about. And it's a woman as well. And it's really, really, really nasty because people call and the messages and anyway, it's you don't need, you're not missing out on anything if you don't know who she is.
And she's St. Lucian, right?
Yes, she's St. Lucian.
Yeah.
You're not missing out on anything. So, St. Lucia, like I said, I'm back. And a lot has happened since I've been away, Andre. A lot have happened.
No doubt you heard about the big announcement last night.
Yes, I want to start with that because as I was preparing for my show, you see all my books there? I don't know if the camera can take it. I came with all my books and my papers, etc. Because what I have promised you, St. Lucia, every time I host this show is to come here with documents that can substantiate and debunk the lies of the Labour Party. And I think it is unfortunate that the Prime Minister, because I'm going to take on the Prime Minister this morning, for sure. It's unfortunate that the Prime Minister was given an opportunity to be here in studio and an opportunity to speak truth. And the Prime Minister was accusing people of lies and propaganda. And the Prime Minister, let me tell you something. I started writing down the number of things that the Prime Minister said that was untrue. Maybe I don't want to call him a liar because he say it's not good to call people a liar. But in any event, so many things I started writing. I said, I don't have time on the show today to go through it. How can we have... Anyway, let's start with Kenny Anthony. Big news, St. Lucia. Big news. Last night, I was writing. I was watching Flow channel, whatever channel it was. But Timothy also had it on News Maker Live as well. The big announcement by Dr. Kenny Anthony. And in essence, Dr. Kenny Anthony said that he will not be running for elective politics anymore. And said that the only thing he wants to do, he wants to be is to be remembered. He said he don't want no street name after him, no this name after him. And I said to myself, so which street we going to name after you, sir? Tell me one street that you did, or one thing that you did, one building in Vieux-Fort, something of substance that anybody can look at and say, we're going to name it after Kenny Anthony. Let me tell you something. I'm not going to go down on Kenny Anthony today because I don't think I have time for it. But let me tell you something, sir. There's a song we had that, is it Moggy who sung that song that said, bye-bye, Kenny, bye-bye, 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 Kenny. Nothing. St. Lucia and Vieux-Fort South in particular is losing nothing to you living. Nothing. Because you have done nothing that we can speak of that say, oh my God, Kenny is living, we're not going to see that anymore, or that anymore, or that's not going to happen anymore. There's nothing to speak about. Nothing. People who left Vieux-Fort South, Vieux-Fort Tongue, Vieux-Fort wherever, who left 20 years ago and 28 years ago when you came into office, and tomorrow would have been the anniversary of when you first came into office, 23rd of May 1997. That would have been the anniversary. 28 years you came into office. Personne sa di mi Kenny Anthony fait ça en Vieux-Fort. So when you come and talk about you living and you went round and round the mulberry tree, talk about everything else, I'm like, who's good? I'm not shedding any tears. I don't think anybody in Vieux-Fort is shedding any tears. People are like, come on, do it already. Even the Labour Party supporters were already frustrated because they were thinking, oh my God, is he still going to run again? We don't want him anymore. Vieux-Fort need fresh blood, fresh thinking, fresh faces. Vieux-Fort need Lady Lee, Liana Joanna Paul. That's who Vieux-Fort South needs. And so, Kenny Anthony, thank you very much as a St. Lucian. Thank you for your services, whatever they were. But bye-bye. I don't know if Andre wants to say anything good for you.
No. I was just going to ask, he representing Vieux-Fort South, was that, was he ever defeated in the constituency?
No. He has been the parliamentary representative from 1997 to date, never defeated. The person who came the closest to defeating him was shy of what was it, either 200 and something votes or close to that, was Dr. Ulrich Mandesi when he ran against him. I think it was in either the 2006 election, I think. Dr. Mandesi came very, very close to defeating him. But no, he was never defeated. The people of Vieux-Fort has voted for him for the last 28 years.
That's a long time, actually.
Long time. And it is the same for the Honorable Prime Minister as well. I think they are the only two, I stand corrected, but they would have been the only two members of the original St. Lucia Labour Party team who came into office in 1997, who are still in elective politics. And you know, coincidentally, Andre, the same can be said of Philip J. Pierre in his constituency of Castries East. No change, nothing different. Same old, same old. Same old people going out and bathing the laundry in the middle of the night and whatever, bathroom outside, etc. in 2025, 28 years. So it's I don't know. Anyway, I don't know what to say. But
do you think it's a question of just, plain loyalty?
Yeah, it is, because it's the same in the constituency of Vieux-Fort North. It's just loyalty. You see, there is a mindset that people say to themselves, "Moi c'est Labour, moi c'est Flabo." It's the same thing, party loyalty. And so a lot of times those party loyalties are also passed on to the children. And so you have it generational, that the children or the parents, sometimes the parents would say, "Oh, I am Labour, you in my house, you vote in Labour," etc. And it just continues and so forth. So a lot of it is party loyalty. These same people after the elections, I mean, if you've been following some of the town hall meetings, Prime Minister had a town hall meeting in Mikud North just a couple of days ago. And you listen to the supporters when they come up to ask the question. You can see that the supporters are not happy. You can see that the supporters have questions, and the supporters know that some of the things that the party is saying to them is not true. But yet still that loyalty to the party remains, and sometimes you just can't see yourself voting against your party because you've made it your party. But I think we are at the stage, Andre, as I've gone around, as I hear and I listen, that a lot of St. Lucians are in a different mindset now. You still have the base, both parties still have their base, and they have that level of loyalty. But majority of the new generation, persons in the 25, 30 age bracket, 30, 25, 18, and so forth, they are thinking differently. They're not thinking party loyalty, etc. They're thinking two things. They're thinking candidates. So they look at who is the best candidate for my area, and they're thinking nationalistic. They're looking at the country. They're looking at policies. They're looking at development, etc., etc. Which is why when the Prime Minister came on Friday, I was like, oh my God, you have an audience that you're able to speak to and speak truthfully and honestly to. And but I can't blame him so much, because it wasn't Mr. Fenlon a principal of a school one time?
Babalu.
And I thought to myself, a former principal. I mean, he's the one who started with all the lies, He's leading the Prime Minister on in lying. He's asking him lying, leading questions. You understand? So that the Prime Minister will answer in a particular way. So when you say to the Prime Minister that, his first question was, when you came into office, St. Lucia was on the brink of the IMF. And I'm like, where did that come from? Where and how St. Lucia was St. Lucia ever on the brink of the IMF? You understand? So that the Prime Minister will now continue to answer. I mean, it's shameful. Mr. Fenelon, if you are listening, take a page from my book. Take a little bit of an example from me. And that is the difference between meeting the opposition and meeting the ministers.
I think Dr. Anthony spoke for about 90 minutes. I don't know if you listened to the entire speech, but did you gather anything in terms of what he's done for the constituency? Did he identify some of his greatest
He did not. I did not listen to the entire speech because I was in and out. As I said, I was preparing. Whilst I was listening, I was also preparing for the show, so I did miss out on a few things. But this is one of the things that I kept on waiting for Dr. Anthony to do, is to be able, at least, you having a meeting of such magnitude and you are saying goodbye, that you're no longer running, you would be able to at least list some of your major achievements, not only for maybe for the country and then for the constituency, to say these are some of the changes in the 28 years that I've been in politics that I have effected for the country at a national level and for the constituency at a constituency level. I did not hear any of that. I don't know if he did. So if he did, somebody will call when we open the lines and say that he did and what they were. But if he did, it probably would have been just one sentence, because it's very, very minute. I mean, you look at Vieux-Fort South. I'm from Vieux-Fort. Born, raised in Vieux-Fort. Been going to Vieux-Fort town all my life. You understand? And when you look at Vieux-Fort, the promenade, which is the road before the Philip Maslin grounds, that is what you can see. And then a lot of footpaths in between a lot of the areas in the constituency. I mean, Vieux-Fort should be the second largest town. After Castries, should be the second largest town in the country. Vieux-Fort doesn't have a town hall. Vieux-Fort doesn't have a library. They started renovating. I don't know where it's at, if it's now. Vieux-Fort doesn't have a community center, a community center, let's call it that. If you want to host a conference or meeting or something, there is no hall, no community center, no human resource center, no HRDC in the entire Vieux-Fort South constituency that you can host anything. Nothing, Andre. Vieux-Fort North has an HRDC constructed by UWP, by the way. You understand? In Belleville, Vieux-Fort South don't have one. There's nothing in La Richus, nothing in Cantonment, nothing in the town itself, nothing. So when he say he don't want anything named after him, I was like, okay, what is it they're going to name after you anyway? What? So
I listened to the response of the crowd, and I gather that they were not surprised.
no, it's been coming because you've had the Labour Party has 4 candidates right now who are canvassing the constituency and vying to become the next candidate for Viewfort South. So everybody knows that Dr. Anthony would not be running. But with somebody like Dr. Anthony, everybody thought he would not run last election. And until he says he's not running, you know that it's not, a fact. And he did say a lot. He did send a lot of subtle messages to the Labour Party that I do not wish to go into right now. But let's see what happens. But everybody knew.
Yes,
Everybody in the
I
South
gathered there was not.
Yeah.
They were not surprised. when
Nobody
they
was
had the announcement.
surprised. No, nobody was surprised. In fact, I think a lot of people knew that's why he was having the meeting. That meeting was scheduled for last week, but due to the inclement weather, it was postponed, and so it happened. All right?
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, so I was saying that the difference between Meet the Opposition and Meet the Ministers, one is based on facts, substance, and the other one is based on protecting the victory with lies and cover-up and deflection. And I am saying to you, St. Lucia, in my opinion, this is what the Honorable Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre did on Friday. Lies, cover-up, and deflection. A lot of messages, a lot of questions were asked, and the Prime Minister did not answer them as he should answer. You know, the Prime Minister was just deflecting and saying, and run back to that and run back to that and all over the place. And I know that was deliberate, all right? Or somebody says to me there is an HRDC in Black Bay. I don't know where that HRDC is in Black Bay. Somebody, when we open the line, will tell me where in Black Bay is that HRDC. I don't know. But somebody says there's an HRDC in Black Bay. I don't know where that is. So, in any event, the first thing that the Prime Minister said when I started listening to St. Lucia was that he said that when he inherited the economy, that Mr. Fenelon said to him that that we were on the brink of the IMF, and then what did you do? What were some of your policies that you do, and what were some of the first things that you did? And I know that the St. Lucia Labour Party and has been, in fact, at the last, I did listen to some of the debate when he presented the budget. And the Labour Party was boasting that this is the first time that we've had a primary balance that is in the positive for St. Lucia, is on the Philip J. Pierre, to be able to show how well he's managed the economy. And so they were saying every time Alan Chastney it was a negative primary balance. That's not true, St. Lucia. Marty and the Prime Minister perpetuated that again. So I told Andre, I come with all my books. This is the Economic and Social Review 2024, St. Lucia. And this is done annually. This report is done annually. So no matter what the politicians say, you see, this is the most factual report that is prepared for St. Lucia in terms of the economy and how it is performing, and it gives a detail of every sector, looks at debt, etc., Andre.
So who puts it together?
This is put together by staff of the Ministry of, I think, Economic Development and the Ministry of Finance. So they have no choice. They can't lie. They have to take the information as is and put it in there and prepare this report. All right? And it is the guidebook that every parliamentarian should use when you go to Parliament and you want to talk about the economy, about the various sectors, etc., the performance, the actual performances. Because remember last year, when they were trying to talk about agriculture, it's when we took the economic and social review, because a lot of times when the Prime Minister presents the budget, the estimates, you do not get the economic and social review as yet. So they say all kinds of things, all kinds of projections, lies, etc. But when he presents the budget address by then, this needs to be prepared by then. And so then you can come and demati them. And that is how we were able to show them that there was an overall decline of 17% in agriculture. And every single sector in agriculture declined the financial year before. The same thing again, but I'm not going to go there. But I want to show you, Andre, on page 127 and 128 of the Economic and Social Review for 2024. That's the last one, the latest one that they've just prepared. All right? And what it says when it comes to the primary balances and so forth. And what a primary balance is, more or less, St. Lucia, is this is how much money that the government collects in revenue. This is how much money that the government spends, that they do not have a choice, that they have to pay. Salaries, rental, etc. So this primary balance is devoid of capital expenditure, because capital expenditure is what is going to tip you over. And so your primary balance shows if you're collecting more revenue than you have to spend, then you will have a positive balance. But if you are collecting less revenue and you have to spend more, then you will have a negative primary balance. That's the most simplest way I can explain it. It's a little more technical than that, but it's just about if you collect $100 and you now have to pay salaries, rent, and everything of $80, then your surplus is going to be $20. But if you're collecting $100 and you now have to spend $110 to pay your bills, etc., then you're going to have a deficit of $10. Mm-hmm. Agreed? Mm-hmm. We understand, St. Lucia? So let's look at the years of the primary balances. So I'm going to take 2016 because it was positive during Dr. Anthony's time as well. In 2014-15, it was 9.0. In 2015-2016, 49.3. When we came into office in 2016-2017, from 49.3, we brought it up to 78.6. All these are positive balances. All right? From 49 under Kenny, Alan Chasney brought it up to 78.6, almost doubling it. Then in 2017-28, it went back down to 50.4, which is still higher than the 2 years prior of Kenny Anthony. In 2018-2019, do you know how much it was, Andre? 108.4. That is what you call prudent fiscal management, St. Lucia. And all of that is under Alan Chasney. However, you would note that 2019-2020, what happened, Andre? COVID. COVID hit, economy closed, money not coming in, etc. So it went from 108, which we had in 2018-2019. So we were projecting, we were going up, we were doing better and better. And then COVID hit and it went down to minus 22.9. And then 2020-2021, it went further. That's when we had the total lockdown shutdown to 333.3. But by the time 2021 came along and we had reopened the economy, we were in recovery mode, we had reduced it from 343 to 115, and that would be still a negative balance. And so what you found is Labour Party came in, and so from the negative of 115, they brought it to a 62.6, and I'm going to talk about that as well. Then they brought it to a positive of 14.1 and now a positive of 101. So, St. Lucia, when the Labour Party lies to you and say to you that Alan was not managing the economy and he was not a fiscal prudent manager and we always had negative balance, not true. Not true, because the Economic and Social Review shows it clearly that it only started to occur, Andre, during the time of COVID. And I thought it was important to bring that and to show you, because when you have a prime minister who's the minister of finance, and listen to that, and let me tell you, the prime minister sat there, and Andre, you heard him say, he said that the measure of a man, didn't he say that? The measure of a man, the integrity of a man is for him to be able to say, I made a mistake, or for him to acknowledge that he did something wrong, and to acknowledge that he did wrong. The measure of a man is in truth and honesty. That is what the prime minister say. But this prime minister has no measurement, because you telling me that you cannot come and simply say, listen, you want to make yourself look good, fine. I don't have a problem with that, Andre. I don't have a problem in showing that you, as Minister of Finance, was able to move us from a negative primary balance and bring us to a positive. But don't try and lie and make it seem that we never had a positive balance. We never had a surplus, a primary surplus. And it's only when you came, you inherited it in a negative and you've brought it into a positive. The only reason you inherited a negative primary deficit is because of COVID, and you can see it clearly there in the 2 years of COVID. And what is your measurement, Honorable Prime Minister? Puchupa Hadisa. Alan Chasne te fait tel bail, mais pas la botte Alan Chasne, I pas la botte comme. Mais ou ka fait moun kwe, dat ki Alan Chasne pas fait rien qui bon. Alan Chasne pas te ka manage l'argent cette lisi. Ou ka fait moun kwe, Alan Chasne pas te sa manage l'argent, c'est ou qui manage l'argent. Ou pas di bail la vérité. Di se moun la, dat ki paye te ka fait bien, mais le Covid vini, tout bagay vin croisé, et puis ou pour économie, après Covid, ou mené dans manière. I have no problem with that. Because you did it. But I'll get back to how he was able to do it as well. Because when we, as the United Workers' Party, told you that all the achievements between 2021, 2022 going into 2023 was that of the United Workers' Party, it was our recovery plan he was implementing, Andre. When they came in July, we had already passed the budget, we had borrowed money, and they came in and they implemented our recovery plan. Our recovery plan. So all the recovery that happened during that time belongs to the United Workers' Party, because it was our plan. Labour did nothing. They just came in and implemented.
So you're saying Labour di bon?
Labour di bon. Because, like I said to them, when I come on the show, I'm not PR for the St. Lucia Labour Party. I'm not PR for the government. Now, I always subscribe Super di bon, pas di mal. So if the Labour Party does something that is good and I choose not to speak about it, I am not going to lambaste it and say it's wrong, it's bad either. You understand? I will say nothing. Let the PR of the St. Lucia Labour Party big up themselves and say the good things they're doing. That's not my job.
Okay.
But if I choose to, and somebody asks me, oh, Nancy, what do you think about the youth economy? I would say, I think it's a good initiative. I don't think it's a bad initiative. Can there be improvements? Can there be changes? Yes. But it's a good initiative. But do you want me to go on and on about youth economy? Ça va travailler moi. C'est travail Jean Labour, ça va travailler moi. You understand what I'm saying, Andre? That's what. You understand? That's what. But in any event, the Labour Party, people are already under the live. The nastiness has already started again. I mean, anyway, these are negative people, St. Lucians and supporters of the UWP and people who are independent who are listening to this show to get something. Please ignore the negative people, the nasty people that is under the life. You know, these people do not have a life. These people have no positive anything in them. So ignore them and please listen to what I am saying. All right? So, number one, debunked. Now, as I said, all the recovery of 2021 into 2022 belongs to the United Workers' Party. Andre, do you remember a time when Mondi Lewis, at the time she was still, what was she, attached to the Prime Minister at the time, when she was on air and claiming, she was boasting that in the first year that the Labour Party did not borrow any money. You remember that? Why, Mondi, why? And we kept on saying, you know why you didn't have to borrow any money? Andre, Si amoun evito, an di dan an fete ben bay, epi tout bay ha bien meble, tab la hani manje, la hani bwe, la hani danse, la ni music, la ni tout bay, lò vini sa ou ka fe, pa just asidek manje? Est pas ça ou ka fe? But that's what Labour Party did. When Labour Party came into office, the reason in the first year, they did not have to borrow so much money and so forth because everything was set by Alan Chasney already. The projects were set. The funding was already set. The budget and the estimates had already been passed. Monies, Alan had gone to Parliament and also borrowed the monies already. So all they had to do was to use the money that was already available and allocated to implement the plan that Alan Michael Chasney and his administration left for them. That's all. And that is why you had such a huge recovery. And St. Lucia, you know I'm not lying, you know. You know why you know I'm not lying? Because Philip J.P. did many interviews prior to being in government. He was the one that sat down with, what's her name, the young lady's name? Janika, and said that Alan Chasney is the only person that believe after COVID that tourism will go back to its original because he had no faith, he had no vision, he had no plan. But Alan Chasney had faith, and Alan Chasney had a vision, and Alan Chasney had a plan because Alan Chasney knew that people were people, and Alan kept saying that all the time. He said, I know that after people have been cooped up for over a year in their houses, etc., due to COVID, they will travel again. And what happened, Andre? Now the same Prime Minister is the one boasting that we are back to pre-COVID levels in terms of our tourism arrival. The vision of Alan Michael Chasney. That's what you are building on. Because you didn't believe it. You said that Alan is the only person in the world that believes tourism will get back to that. What happened? Who's the only person now? Who's laughing now? Who's laughing now? No vision, no plan. And winning on elections on lies and creating fear, Andre. That's what the Labour Party did. That's why the Prime Minister, Ernest Hille, I'll come to him next week, you know, hopefully. I'll come to Ernest Hille next week because he's not getting a blight either. But I thought I should deal with the Prime Minister first. These people cannot speak one word of truth in their mouth, Andre. You know why? Because it started from the time they were in opposition. They lied about Guy, lied about Alan, lied about crime, lied about the police. They created fear in the hearts of people. Everything was exaggerated. And today, they cannot enjoy it. Te me dizo sa, nou toujou ka di, eswa se moun la ki ka hen la han san swe ya, yo pa sa fon yek la jan, moun ki ka vole, moun ki ka cheat se, moun la ki an drugs ek se bay kon han, yo ka fe se bay sa pou yo ni la han, gade ki sa yo ni, anye, yo pa sa fe an yek la han, yo pa sa e jwe la jan. It's the same thing with Labour Party, you know, because they did not come into government on truth and honesty and integrity. They came in on lies, on propaganda, on creating fear. And so they are now ruling in the same way. They cannot enjoy being in government. They cannot develop the country because they are so afraid. Every time the Prime Minister says, these people lying, they're lying. And who's lying, Andre? That's his fear. That's what's in his head because he knew that's what he did. He knew that's what him and his party did. So everything he's talking about, they lied. And it's you that coming right on radio, on Rev-Up, a new program you just start. Uhakumasi mati. Oh, just kumasi. Uhakamati.
Nancy, just going back to the point you were making earlier about you not being a spokesperson for the Labour Party. Mm-hmm. And I said Labour the bon. Mm-hmm. Right. So do you think it is fair for the Prime Minister to say things that would make the leader of the opposition right now look good?
No, that's not his job. That's not his job to make the leader of the opposition look good. His job as Prime Minister and a member of the St. Lucia Labour Party is to be honest with the people of St. Lucia. So give the people the truth, Andre. Let the people decide whether Alan Chasney is a good man or a bad man. Whether Alan Chasney was a good manager or a bad manager. So I will not tell you go and give Alan Chasney props and come and say he was a good person, he managed the economy well. Right. But don't come and lie about him either. Don't come and lie about him. Don't come and say things that were not true. Because that's what, and the Prime Minister said that as well. He said that people, they lie. I wanted to take the clip, and play it and send it to you to play it again so people can remember what he said, People talking about things that never happen. And who talking about things that never happen? Philip J.P. I can't believe this, Andre. I could not believe that I am watching the gentleman, the honorable, he's supposed to be honorable prime minister, sitting there talking and accusing people. You know, like they say, Andre, you see, let me show you. When you point one finger at Andre, excuse me, you see how many fingers pointing back at me? 3 of them. One at him, but 3 pointing back at me. That's what the prime minister does. Point one finger at people saying they lie, propaganda, not speaking the truth, and 3 fingers pointing back at him because he's doing it triple time what he's accusing somebody of. Triple time. Triple time. Anyways, let's go to the next one. There was something else I wanted to read, but it's almost 10 o'clock already. It has to do with the payables as well. The Prime Minister keeps speaking about the payables, outstanding payables to local people, etc., Andre. And then I listened to the Prime Minister and I said to myself, I mean, come on, PM. Come on. Because even that same on page, let me see if I can get it, page 131, speaks to the local payables, Andre. And you can see, again, it's a clear pattern that prior local payables, meaning you take things, goods and services on credit from the local suppliers, paper, whatever it is these things are, and then you pay them every month. But then when we took those things because of COVID, and again, it will show you on page 131, and you can get the Economic and Social Review online, actually, on the government website. So you can go and look at it as well. Page 131 speaks to the local payables, and it's the same pattern you see. Our local payables were very low in 2019. You would now hit COVID in 2020, and then it skyrocketed, Andre. And the majority of the skyrocketed cost of the payables would have been affiliated to the Ministry of Health, because that's where you had the concern. You had to buy things, build things, fix up Victoria, create the respiratory clinic, all these kind of things. You're doing these things on credit, so your local payables went up. You understand? But the Prime Minister making it seem that under Alan Shasney, local. But let me tell you something. The Prime Minister should be ashamed. You came into office and you had debt at OKEU that you inherited, because it's not Alan Shasney's money. It's the country's money. And because we incurred the debt to ensure that we had a functioning hospital, you have a responsibility when you come in to pay it, Andre. The Prime Minister waited 2 years. He paid nothing. And then last year, after pressure on CIP, he took $11 million to pay part on it. And then this year, he started paying part on it. The debt stayed there for 3 years and he paid nothing on it. That is a vindictive person, St. Lucia. That man was victimizing St. Lucians, because these are St. Lucians that money was owed to, Andre. How could you say you care about people? You become the Prime Minister. You have access to financing. At least you pay it a little bit at a time. You paid nothing for 2.5 years, Andre. And these are local vendors. And you come into Parliament and talk about the local people and how you care about them and payables, etc. And you had the power to pay them. And you never did. A vindictive person is the only person that does that, Andre. And I'm telling you that this man is not a good man. He says one thing with one side of his mouth, but he does something with the other side of his whole body. These people cannot be trusted. Cannot be trusted. The Prime Minister said, when the gentleman asked him the question, he said that his first order of business, and I don't know if you remember that, his first order of business was to generate economic activity. You remember that, Andre? He said he said when he came into office and things were so bad, his first order of business was to generate economic activity by paying the back pay to civil servants that the UWP people had not paid. You all remember that, St. Lucia? Friday, this I. That's what he said, his first order of business. Andre, do you know when the Prime Minister paid the first set of back pay to public servants? March 2023, St. Lucia. March 2023. The Prime Minister came into office in July of 2021. How can your first order of business to generate economic activity? He said he pumped $18 million into the economy by paying the back pay. The press release of the government came out in January of 2023 and said that the public servants would be getting their back pay in March of 2023. Almost 2 years later. Almost 2 years later. And y'all can go online and it's on the government website. I did my research. I went online, look at the press release, the dates, everything. Everything. It's there that you can see. Now, let me tell you something. When the Labour Party came into office in July of 2021, because I am going to go into that back pay thing, because I don't know if y'all not thinking St. Lucians. I don't know how y'all think in St. Lucians, but I'll open your eyes this morning. When Labour Party came into office July 2021, Andre, the administration of Alan Chasney under the United Workers' Party had successfully completed the negotiations with the Trade Union Federation for the periods for 2 triennium, 2016 to 2019 and 2019 to 2022. Not true? You remember that? You were in the media. In fact, that was a first in St. Lucia. That was historical. This was the first administration who would have successfully negotiated 2 trienniums in one negotiating pattern. No government had ever done that before. Every time the period end, Andre, they're going into negotiation. It lasting 2 years, 3 years. Then they finish, then it start all over again. And Alan Chasney, and around that time we were in the midst of COVID as well, etc. The 2019 triennium had ended and we had still not gotten an agreement. And so the practical thing he suggested to the negotiating team, the government negotiating team, he said, since we've ended, why don't we negotiate the next triennium as well? So you don't have that, dilly-dallying and that delaying, etc. And so that was already successfully negotiated. So when Philip J. Pierre came into office, he found an agreement that would have covered 2016 to 2019 and then 2019 to 2022. Let me tell you something. The press release of the government of St. Lucia came out in January 27th, 2023. The press release is there. All right? He came into office July 2021. The negotiations had concluded. I suppose he just needed a signing off or something like that, Andre. But it was agreed, approved, etc. July 2021. July 2022. That's a whole year. Nothing. Then you go into 2023. Let's say December 2022. So that would have been another 6 months in January of 2023. So 1 year and 6 months later, 1 year and 6 months later after being in office, you have gotten a negotiation package that was already signed, sealed and delivered. He issued a press release to say that the Cabinet of Ministers approved and agreed to he said that they approved and they agreed to the negotiations that was done by the previous administration, and so they're going to pay the back pay for the public servants. A year and 6 months later. Why did it take so long for you to approve something that was already approved, Andre? Why? Why? Let me tell you the package that was negotiated. I went and St. Lucia again, because I have to demurti the Prime Minister. Both collective agreements are online. If you just go on Google and search the collective agreement 2016-2019 and the one 2019-2022, it's online. It's a public document. You can Google it, and I went online, I got them, I read through them. I read, I study, so I come with facts. The Prime Minister said that the UWP administration did not pay the people 1%. You remember he said that, Andre? He said that UWP in the previous negotiations did not even pay the people 1% to make it seem like he's the one that has paid the highest rate in terms of the negotiations. And when they come out, they negotiated 2 trienniums as well. They followed us. They followed our patterns. Very good, Prime Minister. Thank you. They followed our pattern and they negotiated for 2 triennium. But you think he would come out and say, this is the rates for each year? He came out and say, oh, we give them, what was it? 13% or whatever. He bulked all the 6 years together, Andre, to make one and say, we have negotiated a package that gives them 18% or 13% or whatever it is it was together. Matioko. Distorting the truth to make it seem. So everybody was like, Mama, these people get 13%? You understand? Thinking is that, no, it's 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. You understand, Andre? And then you tally it. But again, they can't tell the truth. So, St. Lucia, I want to demati the Prime Minister again. The Prime Minister lied when he said that the public servants were not paid more than 1%. Were not paid 1%. They were paid less than 1%. The package, 2016, they were given a lump sum. Every public servant got a lump sum of $1,800. Now, when they tell you, oh, they're the only government that's ever given public servant a lump sum month, Mati encore. We gave them a lump sum of $1,800. 2017, the negotiation was 1% with no back pay. 2018, 1% with no back pay. So when he came into office, Andre, I want you to realize the agreement for 2016-2018 had no back pay on it. So there was no money owing. So if he had just honored the agreement, that 11 or $18 million that he paid, he didn't have to pay that, All he had to do was to honor the agreement and pay the people their salary. There would not have been a need for back pay. But I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why the back pay is important. The April 2019 negotiations, 1%. 2020, 1%. And 2021 to 2022, 2%. So you realize that, Andre, in all of the years, the public servants got 1%, and in a particular year, they got 2%. So that's higher than 1%, right? The Prime Minister don't know that? You think the Prime Minister don't know that? Do you think the Prime Minister don't know that, St. Lucia? But yet still, he can come on air and say that they were paid less than 1%. Yet still he can come on air and say that. So, let's talk about the back pay now. And St. Lucia, if you go online to look for the agreements, one of them is on Section 44 and one of them is on Section 46 of the both collective agreement. That's where you'll get the information. It's right there. You can go online and you can get it. All right? So, the back pay came because of the delay, Andre. If the Prime Minister had signed off and approved the agreement that was already negotiated and paid the public servants when he came in July, La Barcani pays back pay. But there's a trick in that. You understand? There's a trick in that. You want to be able to create, Andre, you want to create a crisis. You want to create a problem. You creating the problem, Andre. And then you come back and you pass back and you come and solve the problem. And say, hey, we had this problem. And I came in and I solved the problem. And you clap, clap, clap. Who's the hero? Andre is the hero because Andre has solved the problem. And all of us that they're clapping, yay, Andre solved the problem, not even realizing who created the problem in the first place? The same Andre. The same Andre. So when you come into office and you had a negotiation and a package that was already negotiated, and you knew that the negotiations, the end of the triennium would have been 2022, you came in July of 2021, what would be the first thing you do, Andre? Not put a team in place to start negotiating to ensure that you don't go, too far and to try and get to. You came in July 2021, no deal. 22, no deal. 23, no deal. 24. In 2024, you come to an agreement. All right? So 1, 2, 3 years of people waiting, negotiating, etc. No deal. Whose fault is that, Andre?
And you saying there was a deal on the table already?
But the deal would have ended in 2022. So he came in 2021. So all he had to do was start negotiations from 2021 so that you could have gotten the deal before the 2022 agreement ended. But the 2022 agreement ended. Then you have 2023. Then you go into 2024. So all I'm saying to you, St. Lucia, who created the delay and not having a deal? Me? The public servants? UWP? Because they're blaming UWP for everything. Who created it? Not the government of St. Lucia, Andre? Isn't that their responsibility? But you created it, ensured that there was no deal, and then for you to come back and to say, oh, well, I'm paying the public servants their back pay, 30 million and 20 million and whatever, millions and whatever, I'm paying them. But you created the problem in the first place, Andre. And let me tell you something, St. Lucia. A lot of public servants called me and I said that to me. And I was like, oh, nice. I know some of you are thinking. I thought some of you were not thinking. You understand? Because you're so grateful to the Prime Minister. He give us a lump sum for this and whatever. As if like, who created the problem in the first place? Not you? That's the mantra of the Labour Party, St. Lucia. The Labour Party creates a famine every single time. They create a famine, and you know what they do? They have a whole 125 bread there. It's 275 now for the bread. They have a whole 275 bread there waiting to give you, you know. Mais yo ba a whole pain, hein? Chaque tile yo ko pe chouak yo about teacher. Là on he teacher a boudon presque plein. On ka vie fin, on ka vie di ban chop pain encore. They come back, they give you another piece and then you come back. Then you eat it 2 weeks later, you come back, bunch up encore. They give you another piece again. They give you the whole bread that actually belongs to you, that they should have given to you. They never give it to you whole. They give it to you in bits and pieces and pieces. So tous les jours, il dit, bon Dieu, merci bon Dieu pour Monsieur Philippe J. Pierre, il ban $200. Then 2 weeks later, merci bon Dieu pour Labour Party, yo ban ça. Bon Dieu, merci bon Dieu pour Labour Party, yo paye l'école mamai. Merci bon Dieu pour Labour Party. But if they did not create a crisis in this country, you would have been able to work, have your own money, buy your own bread, pay your school fees, pay your this, etc. But that is the mantra and the mindset of the Labour Party, to make you dependent on them and to be thankful to them for the things that they have created, made your life harder and more difficult, so that they can give you a reprieve. So you can work yon make you can work a lot lame. So that you can say, oh my God, the Labour Party is so good. The Labour Party is so good. But let me tell you something. St. Lucia, we passed that stage already. We passed that stage already. And I know a lot of you call me and message me. And Andre, I don't know if you ever get a chance to listen sometimes to Newspin. But there was a caller who called Newspin. She's a St. Lucian, but I think she's Dominican, St. Lucian descent, but she's been in St. Lucia for a while. And this lady was so impressive. She called Newspin the day before. And yesterday, Timothy allowed her to call again and to explain. And I think St. Lucians get it. St. Lucians get it because the way she was able to break down these issues and get us to understand that the Labour Party is playing with the mindset of the St. Lucian people. And that's why, St. Lucia, I say to you, you see your peace of mind and your mind, be careful what you allow to go in there. Because don't let people take advantage of you. You can't fool us no more, St. Lucia Labour Party. So to my people of St. Lucia, I say to you, take the back pay. Whatever it is they give you, take it. Take the pay increase. To the pensioners, take the one lump sum that they're giving you, the 600 and the 500 and whatever. The teachers, they try and bribe you all. Take the extra cash they're giving you all to buy things to put in the classroom. Take it. Because you all know why? It was yours in the first place. It always belonged to you. Always the nurses that they say they're going to pay the fees for you at Sir Alpha and whatever, take it. You understand? Everything they give you, take it. Election coming, they're going to give you plywood and cement. Take it. They're going to put $100 bill and $200 bill in the t-shirt and fold it. Take it. Ek me t-shirt la allowed to we? Là yo met $200 t-shirt like yo ba oui plié que yo ba oui là. Mais t-shirt là là tout. Fait yo quoi ou hen ni ku ka met t-shirt là tout. But I am telling you, enough is enough. Take the money, take the cash, take the cement, take the plywood, take all of it and vote them out. You know why? Because they are the ones who added the extra 2.5%. You see, when the Prime Minister sat there and said St. Lucia is the lowest tax, I don't know what they're talking. Why he never spoke about it? The 2.5% levy, Andre. Are you aware that when it came originally to Parliament, it was supposed to be only for 2 years? Are you aware of that?
No.
Yeah, man. I debated that bill in Parliament. And when Mr. Fenilo come tomorrow, ask him. It was supposed to be only for 2 years and it should have ended. Do you know what the Labour Party has done? They have continued it and extended it on your head. $44 million. Mr. Fenlino, mem kite di deni fa. All right? $44 million and they're trying to put more on top of your head. They didn't end it. They extended it. All right? They are the ones who let me tell you, when Labour Party came, the first order of business, when the Prime Minister tell you he had to inject economic activity, do you know what the first order of business was? His first order of business was gas and diesel was at $13.50. His first order of business, he brought it up to $17. Probably, yes, sir. That's why I tell you, take everything they give you because it's yours. It's yours. He brought gas to $17. You remember that, St. Lucia? And then a year and a half later, after we put so much pressure on him, they brought it down to $16.50. And then now $16 or something like that. But under a UWP government, gas or fuel was capped at $13.50 or $13.75 thereabout. It never reached $14. On the Labour Party today, it's $16. So take it because the extra duties that they are collecting on it, this money was supposed to, that 150 tax that we put in place on the fuel, it was supposed to go to road maintenance. You both took one complain. It's worse now.
And you
than
said
ever.
that the health and security levy was a temporary measure?
It was 2 years. It was temporary for 2 years. Ask him. I debated it in Parliament. I was a senator at the time. 2 years. 2 years after you extended. They have not stopped it. I wish I had told you that before so you could ask the Prime Minister about it last week. You understand? St. Lucia, because of the high price of fuel, that's why you're paying so much in your electricity bill. Because of the high price of fuel, that is why the price of bus fare had to go up. Because of the high cost of fuel, that is why the cost of goods and services go up. Because if the distribution company pay more for fuel, Andre, what they do, they pass on the cost to you. This is the same Prime Minister that said, I couldn't do nothing. All these you have in do kaitiye vat en lesa, ou kaitiye baskets of goods, ou kai fe sa, so pri ba gay desan. Let me tell you something. Moi vle we pri ki sa kay de hana. Don't be fooled by that, you know. Do not be fooled by that. That the Prime Minister in a town hall meeting, you've been in government for 28 years. Proud was something, I think it's the Labour Party who instituted Proud. 28 years. Kome moun ki a hente about Proud. Ou ka do bouta da meeting mikou, ek ou ka di denye jan set lisi. Tout moun ki a lete gouvernement, depo hala pou 30 years and over, that you will get the land for free. Let me tell you, St. Lucia, don't be fooled by that. Because you don't just get land like that. In order for them to give you the land, you have to get a block and parcel number. In order to get a block and parcel number, there must be a survey of that property. In order for there to be a survey, there must be certain infrastructure in certain instances that has to be placed. You have to put drainage, water, etc., etc. All these things must happen before they can give you the piece of land. So, pakite yo keno, election kapwa. Yo ka ba ou te pou anyen. Moi vle sav kome moun ki kay hen te pou anyen avan. Zon la 4 l'année zo pa habay yo moun yo chote. Me ho 10 jours, election ka pou zo kay bay moun te pou anyen. And you think St. Lucians are fooled by that? We are not fooled by that. We are not fooled by that, and that's why the Dominican lady said, gone are the days when politicians at the last minute will do all kinds of things, say all kinds of things to win your vote, and when they win, they forget about you. When they win, they forget about you. Andre, let me tell you something. The Prime Minister said, he spoke about tax and that they were going to write off if you were owing either your income tax, etc., and so forth. And let me tell you something. The first time when that policy was announced, that was about a year or two ago, because they've extended it, etc. We looked at it and we laughed. You remember when the 2.5 levy came? What did the Prime Minister say the levy was for? Health and security. And everybody bought into it. Oh, we need more money for health and more money for security. But I showed it to you, St. Lucia. I brought the estimates there, and I showed you that they were lying. And we didn't know why they were lying, but we knew they were lying, Andre. Because there's no way you have $10 coming into the kitty already, Andre. You put in a new measure, listen to that. You put in a new measure that's going to bring another $5 into the kitty. Agreed? So you're now going to get $15. Out of that $10, if you said from the $10 you were giving health $5, that new $5 that coming in, you said it's for health. Shouldn't you increase health from 5 to 10 because you have a new $5 coming in towards health? Isn't that the logical thing? That health was getting $5. You put in a new measure to collect more taxes to go towards health. That new measure would bring in another $5. So it says that health should be increased to $10. We showed it to you in the estimate when they said that health had reduced and not increased. So we knew they were lying. That wasn't what it was for. And lo and behold, we found out. It was because that they had to get a loan. And the conditions of the loan was to show that you would be able to get more money, how you were going to generate more revenue. And said they put in a tax prior to going and get the loan to show, hey, we've put in a new tax, we can generate more money so you can give us the loan now. No dema to you. Let me tell you something. It's a good thing. And don't get me wrong, that the government of St. Lucia is going to write off your income tax and whatever and stuff like that. But St. Lucia, I want to tell you, and we said that to you before, that is not being done out of the goodness of the heart of Philip J. Pierre or the government of St. Lucia. I want to remind you that these would have been accumulated debts and taxes owed to the government, property tax, income tax, VAT tax. These things have been owed for the last 20, 30, 15, how many years? And whilst he's saying to you as a business, it looks bad on your books, I want you to understand that as a business, it's also bad on the government books, Andre. Because you know what they call it? Uncollectible debt. If you've had somebody owing you for 30 years, Andre, 10 years, 15 years, you think in 2025 they'll pay you? You can't collect it. You have to write it off, Andre. That's what you do as an accountant. You write off bad debts. You make provisions for it every year, and then you write it off bit by bit so that it comes off your book, so that it makes your financial statement looks healthy. And so, the government of St. Lucia needs to borrow more money. But they cannot go and borrow money, Andre, and show on their books that they have money outstanding to them for the last 20 years and 30 years that they can't collect. So the World Bank and the IMF says to them, but you are bad managers. How is it that you can't collect? You have all this money outstanding, almost $1 billion, and you've collected nothing over the last how many years? So how can I borrow you more money? And if you people are owing you and you can't get this money back, you are bad managers. So you understand the psyche? So what they've done is to make it seem that they're giving us a pass by writing off our tax. But it's not for us. It's for them. It is for them to clean up the government books, to show and to reduce those bad debts, those uncollectible debts, those VAT and income tax that has been owing for how long. They needed to clean it out so that the books can look a little healthier, so that they could qualify for more loans. And so they say to you, we are giving you a pass. We're writing off your VAT and your income tax if you've been owing for how many years, etc., etc., etc. So you see the trick in it? Let me tell you something. When I tell you these people are deceptive, you wouldn't even believe it. Deceptive. You wouldn't believe it.
So how did the Prime Minister explain, right, his reason for introducing the 2.5% levy? Okay, how did he explain? Because if he said it was for health and security, and he now made a statement, I think he made a statement in Parliament, right?
Yep.
Yes, because I heard him when he said it. So has he ever explained why he probably maybe had to give that as a reason for securing his loan?
When he comes back, Andre, write down that question. Write down that question for when he comes back.
So the leader of the opposition has never asked him anything about that in the House?
So he's going to answer the leader of the opposition. He's not answering you who voted for him and these people there who voted for him and those who voted for him. He'll answer Alan Chasney? Oh, please. Oh, please. Come on, Andre. Anyways, I want to open the line at 10:30 because I know you want to call. I just have two other matters that the Prime Minister spoke about.
So when questions are asked in the House,
He doesn't answer.
The Prime Minister not have an obligation to give answers?
He does have an obligation. You do have an obligation to do it, but they don't do it because nobody holds them accountable. The people, the Labour Party people, when he say, "Oh, I don't have to answer it to you," they say, "Yeah, good Prime Minister," not realizing that they are doing a disservice to this country. Parliament, that's what Parliament is for. Parliament is the way parliamentarians account to the people of this country. When was the last time you heard one parliamentarian account for anything? Every time in Parliament is Chasney, Alan Chasney. They don't talk. They have the bill in front of them and they talk about Alan Chasney. Parliament has turned into a circus. It's the Chasney show. That's what we call it now. The Chasney show. Custody suites, Andre. I heard you ask him about it. Custody suite. Let me tell you something. You heard when you asked him about that the hierarchy of the police force told the previous administration, I listened, that there were arrangements made. What did he say? I don't know, I wasn't there. That's a lie. That's not a lie, that's a cop-out. That's a cover-up. Because Andre, the Prime Minister knows very well that the arrangements were made. How many holding cells were at custody suite, Andre? Maybe about 4, 5, 6, you know. And again, St. Lucia, your memory is too short. Let me tell you something. I digress a little bit. But tomorrow, you had 2 murders happening back to back. You had one on Sunday, one on Monday. Did any of the ministers call your show? Or did you hear them call any talk show anywhere and speak about those murders and condemn it and da-da-da? You heard anything about that? But you know what they're going to celebrate tomorrow, St. Lucia? They're going to celebrate opening custody suite, a holding cell to put St. Lucian's prisoners. So you feel by wed Telma, by Mesha Telma, instead of them putting money into the pockets of St. Lucians to earn a living, they're going to celebrate a holding cell that they spent almost 40 million. Can you imagine that, Andre? So many needs of this country. Our hospitals have no medication. People have been complaining about so many things. You have the bills of OKEU that you say Alan Chasney left. You couldn't take that 14 and how many $1 million and pay down on that bill for OKEU so they could buy supplies and buy medication so the Medical and Dental Association would not write that scathing letter. You take the money to give it to your goons so they can go and build a holding cell. And that's what you want to come and celebrate? That's what you want to come and celebrate? I hope you're going to talk about the murders. And let me tell you, the Prime Minister like to say that's a fact. That's a fact. Fact! Under the leadership of Philip J. Pierre, crime has been the highest in St. Lucia in the history of St. Lucia. That's a fact. Fact! Under the leadership of Philip J. Pierre, the murder rate has been the highest. We have had the highest number of people murdered in this country under Philip J. Pierre and his administration. That's a fact. These are the facts that you should be speaking about, Prime Minister. That's a fact. That's what you keep saying. That's a fact. So when you talk about vehicles, you give them a jet skis and whatever, and you're building one there and that building there, etc. and stuff like that. You have no plan. You have no strategy. Because I think Andre asked you the question, or was it Mr. Felino, when you asked him the question, he said, I don't interfere in the police force, I don't interfere in the hierarchy. Who hired Vanguard? Me? Who Who brought in Vanguard as the commissioner wherever he was? And who extended his contract? Me? You say it's a public service, but it's on the directive of the Prime Minister. That's what the law says. The Public Service Commission cannot do it without you and your approval, sir. You have to approve it. Who hired the deputy commissioner amidst all these allegations against him of sexual misconduct against female police officers? Who hired him and who renewed it? You, because you had to give the approval. You. And who brought in all these people and heads in various departments? The fire service, marine unit. You promoted who you wanted, all your people and whatever. Who? Me? So when you try and fool people and make them feel, I don't interfere in the police first. My father was a policeman. I only give policy direction. What's the policy direction? What? You have not given one policy direction that anybody have heard of. When Vanguard was renewed, his contract was renewed. He said that he has a plan and he has presented it. Nobody in St. Lucia has heard that plan or seen that plan. Nobody. What's the plan? What is the plan? You know we're at 20-something murders so far, Andre? People not even talking about it anymore. It's become the norm. It's become the norm. What is the plan? What is your government's policy direction towards crime? So you want to go and celebrate tomorrow because it's the 23rd of May and you came into office 23rd of May 1997. 28 shameless years. Nothing has changed in Masha. Absolutely nothing in Castries is as changed. But what are you going to celebrate? Custody with a holding cell? When everybody in St. Lucia knew why we broke it down. Cockroach, rat, no flushing toilet. As a matter of fact, police officers, it was alleged that police officers were using it as punishment against people, Andre. When they held you and they couldn't do nothing with you, you know where they were sending you? Custody suites. That was the punishment because that was a hellhole.
So isn't it justified to spend that kind of money on custody suites?
On a holding cell? When the plan that the UWP have, why we broke it down, Andrew? We didn't break it down only because it was a hellhole, you know. We broke it down because we were going to build the halls of justice in that same area and you would have a holding cell there at the same time. So it was 2 in 1. That's a vision that the Labour Party don't have. And you know what they did? They butchered the whole thing. We broke down custody suite. We broke down the buildings there. We did. You remember? You can't remember when National Trust came when the building was being damaged and came and say it's historical value. Anyway, let me not say that word on radio. Okay? Came and did protest and all kind of things and whatever. We didn't just break down custody suite for breaking down sake, Andre. We needed the halls of justice. You needed a new holding cell. You needed the new police station. And so that area already had encompassed that area. It's out of town. It's not interfering. It's not in the middle of the city, etc. After much discussion, different locations, etc., there was agreement by the judiciary, by the police, by everybody. They were in agreement to the design and everything. So when the Prime Minister tell you about tunnels and making a joke of it, visionless. That's the same person who make a joke of the airport. And Andre, I told you the video that was circulating and whatever. I saw it for myself. I arrived the same day. I arrived in the rain. I had to put my hoodie over me when I got on into St. Lucia and put it over my head and run down the flights. In the rain. In the rain. And you playing dilly-dally with the airport. You understand? Visionless. Just because what? Chasney was going to build it. So Alan Chasney had the vision where, okay, you don't like Alan Chasney, fine. And you wanted to change the design of the building, fine. But at least you had a site, Andre, free of charge. You know that, right? The site where custody suite was and this whole area, you know what's there now? A parking lot. That's why I just park my vehicle when I come to Castries. All right? You had no money to pay. If you didn't like Alan Chasney's design and you didn't approve of it or agree of it, fine. Go back to the drawing board. Get a new design. But do not allow, Andre, for so much drama to unfold. And we've had to pay for that little piece of thing there. I don't know the value of things, of property. But you telling me, Andre, we paid $13 million just for that lot to be able to build so that you can combine and build the thing. Whereas you could have built it up there for free. That $13 million could not go to something else, Andre? Let me tell you something. We're struggling in this country, you know. The amount of things people are asking for, and the government say they have no money, but government could cough up $13 million to purchase that lot in the middle of the city to build the halls of justice. Why? Because you are vindictive, man. Because Alan Shastney was going to build it there. I'm not building it there no matter what it costs. I'm spending money everywhere else. But so who's suffering? Not the people of St. Lucia, Andre?
So
We are.
any idea as to how they arrived at that $13 million
Andre?
for that piece of
I know
property?
nothing about valuation and nothing about land. All I can say to you
Because I
is
myself, I've deliberately driven there just to see.
to see it. And you ask yourself, is this worth $13 million? I don't know. But if it's worth $13 million, then I can certainly say to you, the couple of acres of land that Reno bought, you remember that land deal we're talking about? Up down in Folasho area? My God. If that is worth $13 million, then when we said to you that the land was given to Reno Kajada for nothing, then it's justified, Andre. It's justified. It's how many times more than that property? Beachfront property as that. And Reno boasting his big badges coming in, all kind of things coming in now. You understand what I'm saying, St. Lucia? These are not people who are working in your interest. These are people who are working in their interest, their friends' interest, their family's interest, their foreigners' interest, and their financiers' interest. The people that financing their campaign. That's whose interest they're working in. Because you cannot tell me this is the same government, Andre, that says to you they don't have money. You have a building that has already been negotiated. Rent $4.50 up there in Badouage. It's still there empty. And you know what the government is doing? Government has now rental space, new space, because the space was already available. Don't try and tell me, oh, that was there already. No, Papa. That space was already available. They deliberately left it and recently signed agreements for space in the city at $8 and $9. And they have $4.50 square footage space up there for free. They're waiting for them. It's theirs. Already negotiated. Okay? That's the government you have of the day. That's the government you have of the day. And then the Prime Minister sits down there and say, oh, I'm a Prime Minister of consensus. I don't, that's not what he said, Andre? I'm a consensus. I talk to people. I discuss with people. I don't just do things. I don't think I know everything. Liar. Liar. Did you talk to the Catholic Church before you decided to build the building there? Did you? No, you didn't. So where was the consensus then? And even when the plans came up, the Catholic Church wrote to you. Where was the consensus? You started excavating. Where was the consensus? Is when you start digging, juguruk, things started happening and rumbling, and the church started putting pressure. The public started putting pressure. You stopped, and you ended up now going and pay $13 million. Where was the consensus, Prime Minister? Where? Who did you talk to? And by the way, we need to know who negotiated that deal. You or Richard Frederick? Richard Frederick or you? Who negotiated the deal and the package and the price? Who? You were here last week. Why didn't you tell us that? Andre, it's 10:30. I have a lot more to say. I brought this investment project. So we can open the line. This is the Prime Minister's address. I just want you to know. Why? Philip J. Pierre, not mine. His address. And every single on page, that is the budget statement for last year. And this year's one is in there as well. Page 41, investment projects. Every single investment project in there, St. Lucia, belonged and started under the United Workers' Party. May Philip J. Pierre claim new investment. We have investment coming into the country. All the investments are investments of Alan Michael Shastney and his government. Started under him. Investment number 1, Courtyard Marriott at Point Seraphine, just there, Andre. That's our project. That started under us. Investment number 2, Canals Mikud, the Galaxy project, started under us. Cabot St. Lucia, you remember Cabot? Madry, the beach, and Ja Beach is mine, blah, blah, blah. They're claiming it, Cabot St. Lucia.
What about Monpima?
Monpima, I'm not too sure. I think it may have been negotiated under us, but I don't know it started under us. I stand corrected. Somebody can give me the correct information about Monpima. Kazaba Beach in Grosley, under us. Sandals, y'all remember Sandals, St. Lucia? They gave Alan Chasney pressure for a tax exemption, etc. We want our money back. We want our tax. Look, they're claiming it again. Sandals for the new room. Secret Resorts and Spa St. Lucia. That's the St. James Club. Y'all remember that one too? Y'all remember the land adjoining to the property that we had sold to an investor? Richard Frederick ten papier tous les jours couiller gouvernement, but we give the land. Oh, by the way, St. Lucia, coincidence or not, do you know who we sold the land to? The same person that we had the deal with reference to the vaccine money. The vaccine money, they say that Chasney have to pay back. That's who the investor was, The person who purchased the land and we sold the land to. That is why Alan kept on saying, if anything happens and we need our money, he has property in St. Lucia, we can get our money. That's who we sold the land to. That same vaccine money. Okay? But look, they're claiming it. All these projects, all right, they are claiming. Grand Hyatt Hotel in Sabwisha, claiming that wasn't our project, Andre. I mean, where is the innovation and the new project by the St. Lucia Labour Party? Not one. Not one. They have nothing to show. Absolutely nothing to show. But we'll open the lines. I will put on my headphones. Andre, give our callers the numbers.
Sure.
And callers, let's hear from you this morning.
Okay, the fixed line is 572-9710, 572-9710, or WhatsApp 287-0971. WhatsApp is 287-0971. You have a call.
Good morning, Andrea. Good morning, Nancy.
Good morning. Good morning, caller. How are you?
Good. How are you, Nancy? It's good to see you back.
Thank you very much. I'm here for a short while, though.
Andrew, what's wrong with the voice this morning? You don't sound normal.
Yes, very abnormal.
Yeah.
Yes.
But anyway, Nancy, I know you were not around, but Andre can remember last week when I called last week, Friday. I asked the Prime Minister a particular question. And I think the Prime Minister is being very, very disingenuous when it comes to numbers with projects. And have you guys noticed that the Prime Minister seemed to be remembering all figures when it pertains to what the UWP does, but the Prime Minister tends to have a vague memory when it comes to their own deal that they sign. It is something that people need to be very, very aware of. Mm-hmm. And Philip JP haven't just started doing that. He's been doing that a long time. Mm-hmm. He's a very vindictive young gentleman.
He is.
I find as a Prime Minister, Philip JP should have been resigned from office a long time if he were living in a different environment. A lot of people tend to say that you need to stoop down to the level of the people. I disagree with that. I disagree. And here's why I disagree. Andrea and Nancy, if you come across people that are criminals and whatnot, would you join them in the criminal act just to try to save them? No, you shouldn't.
No.
You shouldn't. You're supposed to show them a better path, a better way of living, a better way of thinking to get them out of where they are. And as a Prime Minister, you ought to put things in place to actually help those people to move away, and even those that are coming that are not even indulge in such activity, so that they themselves don't even engage in such, because you have put things in place. But what I noticed that this Prime Minister is doing, and not just him alone, because it started under Kenny Anthony, and people might be jumping out of their seat from me saying that, but it is true. The reality is, if you want to rule over a nation, you create a lot of dysfunction among the people, and when you create those the dysfunctional environment, you tend to have a kind of an upper hand, because people will tend to look at you now as a savior, wanting to save them from the very situation you put them in. Why am I saying all of that? Let's take it I'll be shorter. Just to put something into perspective. Look at what Trump did coming into office. He had a booming economy. Everything was going right. What did he do? He put tariff. He created instability. Everything just went down, right? Now he's trying to get things back in order. And what? He wants people to praise him for the very thing he created. Why am I saying this? Andre and Nancy, this government has been preying on poor people from the time I was in secondary school. They're there for the poor, the poor, the poor. And I'm telling you something. I'm from the valley, and I know what the valley used to be like. One of the marker of St. Lucia when it comes to economic activity. My friend, these guys took all of that away by destroying the very industry that people relied on, which is the banana industry. And I'm telling you, pay attention when these guys speak, because we might think we're getting the best when we already have what is the best for us.
Yeah.
Have a good day.
Thank you very much, caller.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, caller. We have another call?
Not as yet.
Okay, so somebody says to me that land in town is valued at about $1,000 per square foot. And so we really need to understand the calculation in terms of that $14 million, $14.5 million that was paid for this, and what price did we pay for it? What is the square footage of the property, and what is the price that we paid for it? And so tomorrow, Andrew, I'm hoping that you're going to write that down and ask Mr. Fellino and whoever minister is there to explain, because the cabinet of ministers, it was said, approved this, and we really need to know what was the price that we paid per square foot for that particular land.
You have two
town.
calls.
Okay. Good morning, caller. Thank you for calling me the opposition.
Morning, Nancy. Morning, Andre.
Good morning.
Nancy, 3 questions. If the Prime Minister says that he is the one giving the back pay, that he gave, at what time did he negotiate to give that back pay?
But I explained that, caller, because when the Prime Minister came into office, we would have negotiated 2 trienniums that would have ended in March of 2022.
Nancy,
So,
Nancy, hold on, Nancy, you did not get me. Because I heard you, that the UWP negotiated, okay, within
Yes.
2 trienniums. Now, if the Prime Minister taking the credit, he's supposed to be the one who negotiated in order to give the back pay, okay? And he never did. So therefore, that is proven that he's lying. The second one, Nancy, is the Prime Minister is not giving land, but he offered. When somebody offers you something, that doesn't mean they will give it to you or they must give it to you.
well, I am pretty sure if anybody calls, I didn't see that policy statement. I read through the Prime Minister's speech and I didn't see it. Maybe I missed it. I'm going to read it again. And if I am able to come back next week, I'm going to show you if it's there. But I didn't see that policy statement. And I'm pretty sure there are other terms and conditions that would apply. But caller, like I said, this is not something that is easy to do. The Prime Minister just saying that to fool people. But before you get a lot and parcel number, there has to be a survey. And government has to survey the land. Survey land. And after they survey the land, they have to put the necessary infrastructure, whether it be road, drainage, electricity, water, and then they can give you a lot and parcel number and whatever. So all these things have to be put in place before you can get the land. So let me tell you something, St. Lucia. That's a lie.
Last question. I want you to answer me that question if you can. How much what is the size, of the Ajuda lot, and what is the size of the Banance land?
Okay.
Because Ajuda lot and Banance land is seaside. It is expensive. Ajuda lot is in the middle of town. How come the Ajuda lot is 14.5 million and the Banance land is 2.7 million? I want to know if the Banance land is smaller by far than Ajuda land, or which one is smaller, which one is wider? Thank you.
I know the answer to that, but I will not answer it. I think I will leave it for Andre, because you have met the minister. And these should be questions that government ministers who made those decisions should answer. So I'll leave it for Andre to write down and to ask whichever minister comes in here tomorrow to ask them that question. And depending on the answer that they give you, when I come next week, God willing, I will tell you what the truth is. We have another caller.
Yes, we do.
But before we... Caller, good morning. Thank you for calling me the opposition. But let me just say while you're on the line, I also got a message to say that Mon Pima was acquired under the United Workers' Party administration. Both Mon Pima and the Shockland and so forth. So again, these visions and these projects started under United Workers' Party government. And that is coming from the leader of the opposition, just so you know, because he did message me to say that to me. So again, Andre, all these projects that I've spoken about, these were started under a United Workers' Party. I do not see the new projects. You know, even the DigiGov project that we're speaking about, Andre, where you get your IDs and you can apply for. You know that started on us. We paid $14 million. I was in government at the time. We were in government at the time, and I was part of the discussions for that project when we started the DigiGov project. So not even that they can claim. Caller, go ahead with your contribution.
Good morning, Nancy.
Good
Welcome
morning.
back.
Good morning.
Good morning, Andre.
Morning, sir.
And good morning to all your listeners. Just to help you a bit, Nancy, with reference to the 2.5% health and security levy, on the 27th of July, on the government's website, on the 27th of July, the IRD announces, the Inland Revenue Department announced the coming of the, what do you call it?
Of the levy?
The levy. The levy was imposed on the 2nd of August. Let me just read the document. So, you know, to you, just not the document, just 2 lines, sorry. It says, the levy will be implemented for a 2-year period starting August the 2nd. The government of St. Lucia is set to introduce a health and security levy for a 2-year period commencing August 2nd, 2023. So it's supposed to end on August the 1st of 2025. So it's for a 2-year period.
And we have information that it's been extended.
Right.
So,
well,
okay.
That's the thing. The government did not make an announcement that it's going to extend it. So one would assume, has not made a public announcement as yet.
But it's budgeted, it's allocated, caller. So I'll bring the estimates. I have the estimates. It's already been allocated in the estimates. So it is fair for us to say that it is going to be continued and it's not going to be discontinued because there's budgetary allocation for it. Your next comment?
So, okay, my next comment has to do with the halls of justice. I mean, you mentioned the tragedy of the implementation of this project. But what we're missing out on, and you, as you made mention, St. Lucia is now, we have the ignominy of being number 5 in terms of murder rate in the world.
Oh, God. I didn't know that one. Wow.
Yes, and for the government now to delay, as per capita, based on our population, for the government to delay this project for its mismanagement. Do you know that the Halls of project has not yet started? So when is this thing going to be finished? And while this contractor, who has already been engaged, who has already mobilized, how much is it costing St. Lucia, the taxpayers, to pay this contractor? This contractor has left Trinidad, come to St. Lucia, his equipment is here, his people is here, and the government is dilly-dallying. Now that they have bought this property, this project should have started from last year. So there are costs beyond the costs of the $13 million for the lot of land. And secondly, we still need to look at that deal, as you said, which you were asking who signed the deal, who negotiated that deal. Right, because this building, all inclusive with the air conditioning, the furniture, the computers and security systems, everything complete. Give you the key, you walk in and you start working. Okay? $160 million in total. And then we are expected to pay $293 million in this Bolt agreement.
Well, Colin, nothing surprises me with this administration. Because
$293 million. over the 15-year period. So St. Lucians really need to open their eyes. And there is something else which is on the horizon. By the way, it's I breathe now a bit fairer, but you see now, this is not the Labour Party anymore, Nancy. This is a new party. Ça parle bakila, Kenny Ale.
Okay.
Kenny, you mettez Kenny dehors pour yon sa mette rickshaw dans dedans.
Okay.
It's demal quoi baka western même.
And the même tout. Moi savent.
All right.
You can watch it you go là.
What I'm asking is, the Uranora Airport, which this government, it should have been finishing by now, if not finished, completed, under that project that the past administration had started. Is this delay because they're looking for another GPH to take over our airport for 30 to 40 years?
Yeah, man, it's another PPP. It's another PPP the government is looking for. Philip JP has said that publicly as well. So we know that it's another PPP.
There is PPP and there is PIPS PPP. PIPS PPP are to give $10.50 from a $12 head tax, where you give $10.50 to GPH and $1.50 to solid waste, and none for the government or for SLASPA. So is that what we're going to do?
Colin, next week I want to touch a bit on that because the Prime Minister did speak to that and I have it there, but we didn't get to it. So next week we're going to talk a bit about the Huronoro Airport, the PPP and all the lies that the Prime Minister, because you see, it took a caller to call him and demati him because he said he never stopped the project. And then when the caller called and gave the explanation and asked him the question, then he now say, oh, well, he stopped the project because there was no bill of quantities and in good conscience he couldn't continue, etc. But we'll take another caller, but next week, for sure, we're going to deal with that airport project.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, caller. We have another call?
Not as yet.
Okay. So next week, for sure, St. Lucia, we do want to speak a bit about this because, and again, that's why I said it was deflection, Andrew.
You have a call.
Good morning, caller. Thank you for calling me the opposition. Hello? Can you hear the caller, Andre?
No.
Caller, are you there?
Okay, we lost.
I think we lost the caller.
Mm-hmm.
I think we lost the caller. Hello? Okay. All right. We lost the caller. So, Andre, like I was saying, next week I really want to go into that so we can give a bit more information on this Huronoro International project. Good morning, caller. Thank you for calling me the opposition.
Good morning, Nancy. A breath of fresh air today.
Good morning. Please, caller, don't say that too loud. You're gonna hurt the feelings of my very good friend Spider.
I love Spider, but you see, you're just unique.
We're both different, yeah.
Yeah.
Talk to me, caller.
Nancy, that thing the Prime Minister spoke about giving the lands to the people, the Queenstrin, what? Not Queenstrin.
The land, it's Crown lands.
The Crown lands.
Yeah.
I need the people, especially from my community, to open up their eyes. They know where I am from. I don't have to say where I am from. Open their eyes, hold the tip of their ears, and listen. It's 28 years since Philip Pierre is serving in our government. And he have promised those people this plot of land somewhere in my area, and that has never happened. How long will these people wait to get that from Philip Pierre? And we know what he is saying there, it's a lie. Because like you were saying, Nancy, the stress of going through that, it's not easy. You have to survey, you have to find money, you have to do all sorts of things. You have to put roads, you have to break, pass through, go through UC, do all sorts of things for these people. And the way the people are living in the condition now, when will Philip Pierre ever do what he's saying there for these people? It's just a bluff. It's just a bluff. Because if you go down to Trazel, where UWP was doing that house, I think they were doing a housing scheme down there, right? I went there. We saw they build the roads. You saw the poles. You see, put the poles up to run the electricity and everything. Then you could say, well, yes, something good was going to happen in that area. But these people build already, Nancy. And the way these people have built is houses upon houses. So what crown lands Philip Pierre is saying that he's going to give to those people?
But Kola, I want you to remember again. You see the caveat. You almost listen to the Prime Minister carefully, because that's why when he was on Andre's show at HTS and he mentioned the thing about the 1,500 and he was using a technicality to say that's not what he said. So you must listen carefully to the Prime Minister. Kola, how many people do you think right now who are on Crown lands, who have been on Crown lands for over 30 years?
Nancy, a lot of it.
Okay.
Thousands of persons.
Okay. So, 30 years they have been on that land. How many years has Proud been in existence?
Not too long.
No, Proud has been there for a while, Proud has been there maybe... Proud came, I think, if I am correct, somebody would correct me, but Proud came under a Kenny Anthony administration. And that it was for the regularization of people who were occupying government land. Under Proud, I want you to go into that project. Proud has been there more than 10, 15 years, maybe 20 years or whatever. How many persons have gotten lands under that project? Because of the challenges and the difficulties in getting the land. And again, like you said, you see when people build house one on top the other, when you survey, I'm not a surveyor, but I've spoken to quite a few surveyors because I've had land property surveyed. You have to try and get a straight line. And when people house there and that one there and that one there, you have to do the peg has to go so and so and so. And some people, they tell you their house is in the middle of where the road is supposed to pass and all kinds of challenges. But again, Philip J. Pierre knows that. The man is a master at deception. You think Philip J. Pierre don't know that? But he will make a statement and say, everybody who's been on government land for over 30 years, you'll pay $0, I'll give it for free. And all the people, they clapping.
Nancy, I am not going to stay too long because I know the show is coming.
Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm.
All I want to tell St. Lucians this morning, God allowed Philip Pierre to serve as Prime Minister of this country. Because God knows his heart. He knew all what Philip Pierre was about and is about. Okay? The liar he is, and I will call him a liar because by now, St. Lucia and the Caribbean region have seen Philip Pierre as a liar. And this is what God wanted to expose. His abominable tongue, lying to a nation for the past 28 years. 28 years. And St. Lucians, if you'll stay there and you'll put that man back in Parliament, God's wrath will not go for him. It will come for us. Because this man will bring us down further. So open your eyes, like the Dominican lady said. We are in 2025. We cannot stay there and be fooled by a liar. And we have the evidence to see and to hear the man lying to us blatantly.
Anyway, Kola,
okay,
we have to go.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You too. Thank you, Kola. I do want to say, St. Lucians, that every action, there's a consequence to every action, Andrew. And the consequence of St. Lucians voting for the St. Lucia Labour Party, we can feel it every single day. The consequences of the St. Lucia Labour Party lying to the people of St. Lucia, deceiving them and deliberately misleading them every single day as they are in government, we are feeling those consequences every day. We see it every day when we go to the supermarket. We feel it every day when we take our children and our loved ones to the hospital. We see it every day when we drive on our roads and the conditions of our road. St. Lucia, these are the consequences of our action. These are not the consequences of Philip J. Pierre action, These are the consequences of our action. So again, I think that at some point in time, we have to do some self-reflection, Andre. We have to do some introspection, and we have to ask ourselves, what do I want? What do I want for my country? What do I want for my children? What do I want for my family? What do I want for my community? When you ask yourself that question seriously and you do the introspection, you will realize, I don't want that. And there is something better. There is something better. And I am saying to you today that the United Workers' Party is offering you something better. In the coming weeks, St. Lucia, you've met some of our candidates. Spider has brought in some of our candidates. You will be meeting more of those candidates. And in the coming weeks, you'll also be hearing some of our plans for the economy, some of our plans for the various sectors. Listen attentively, because we need to make the right decision for you and for me. This has been another edition of Meet the Opposition. Thank you one more time for your love. Thank you for your support. I hope that you're going to have a wonderful weekend. We did not like the weekend that just passed there, Andre. 2 murders, back to back. C'est lycée and fair play, mayor. Please, be at peace. Ensure that everything within you is cool, calm, and collected. And let's go out and have an enjoyable weekend. Thank you. God bless you. Goodbye.
God bless you as well, Nancy. Thank you very much. You've been listening to and viewing Meet the Opposition, only on Rev-Up Slu every Thursday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. So thanks for listening. You can join Nancy, I believe, next week, Thursday, same time, for another Meet the Opposition. Well, this is where I end my stint here on Rev-Up Slu for today. We have Kina coming on next. She'll be with you until 3 this afternoon. 3 o'clock, it's going to be Zen the DJ until 6 to enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Andre Paul saying so long.